1. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our little show that we do here on Wednesday nights at Rockwall Ford. I'm Chris Pena. This is Alyssa Williams. This is Mr. James Branch. We have got a ton to cover. Thanks, you guys, already for who's tuning in. Appreciate all the support. It's playoff football time, and it's also we've still got volleyball going on around here, and so we're going to talk a little bit about them. But first off, Alyssa, James, how are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, doing good, man.
Yeah.
Great to be back.
Yeah, it's really good to be back. It's one of those weeks where there's just a lot of buzz and excitement, and of course, Texas is a football state, and when it comes to high school football in Texas, there's nothing like it. And this is all going to be leading up over the next 4, 5, 6 weeks to everybody's trying to get to the AT&T to Jerry World and play in front of a lot of folks. So we're gonna get you going with a lot of football tonight. We have Heritage Christian Academy. We're gonna talk about them first. And then we're going to take a little break. I have Matt, the Professor Diggs. I love the nickname. I don't know. I got to ask him, do you give yourself a nickname or are you given a nickname? Because if it's okay to give yourself a nickname, then I got to find one, right? I got to find.
Absolutely.
I got to find one. But he's going to join us in, of course. He is a big time Texas high school football insider, and he does this thing on Friday nights. It's the dump, and I believe that's what is that right? Yeah. And at midnight he starts going through every single district. It's a great follow on Twitter. If you do not follow Matt Diggs on Twitter, I'll put his Twitter handle up later. But he just goes through all the districts and talks about where everybody's at, gives his thoughts on the games, gives his outlook on who's going to finish where, and now of course we're moving into playoffs, and he'll start looking at matchups and things like that. But it's one of those things too where for me I kind of challenge myself because I get home from a game and I've got edits and I've got things to work on and things like that. I know this man is going to be up till 4 a.m. like he's just gonna go all night. So I try my best to go until I'm like, all right, tonight I'm gonna hang with me because his tweets are going all night. I'm gonna hang with him, and then I always start fading off around 2:30. I'm just like, I can't do anymore. So Matt Diggs, he'll be joining us around 5:30. We'll talk some Rockwall football first, and then we'll talk some Roy City football. We'll talk some Heath football. And then at 6:30, we have Dallas Christian. We've got some players coming in. We're going to talk with them. Of course, they're getting started this week for the playoffs as well. So lots going on. And, of course, you see the TCU shirt. No, I did. Oh, look at that. It's perfect timing with Max Dugan on the screen there. No, I did not go to TCU. I did go to Texas Wesleyan University, which is like a little junior high of TCU. It's like a small school, but grew up a big TCU fan, and it's really cool to see them jump in the top 4. Even as a big fan I don't think, just like the percentages are low for them to get into the playoffs. I agree with that. They've have the hardest remaining schedule in the country with Texas, Baylor, Iowa State, and then they're going to have to play one of those teams or Kansas State again to get in the playoffs. I just don't see it happening, but I think it's really cool for a school like that. You guys got a school?
Yeah, I'm a Tiger fan, man. Them Tigers beat the Crimson Tide in overtime, so I'm a happy guy.
That's right. You are LSU. Yeah, you and Trey. And if Trey was here, he'd be have lots to say on that. He's in Oregon, and so. But yeah, no, there's a path for LSU. Right,
yeah.
There's a path for LSU. They got to win out, obviously, and then beat Georgia and things like that. That was an exciting game. That was really cool to see.
Yeah, SEC is it's the strongest conference in college football, and you got Georgia and Tennessee, and LSU's there, and you can't rule out Kentucky. They're still out there playing pretty hard too. So. We'll see how it shakes down. I saw a layout today where they had Georgia and Tennessee playing. But we'll see what happens.
I think it's a likely scenario. I struggle with the SEC thing. They're a big conference, and they have the best players. But sometimes it just seems like we're looking for a way to get 2 SEC teams in, and I mean Alabama. I mean Alabama has 2 losses and they don't look good. They just haven't looked good all year, and they're still in the top 10. Like they could lose another game next week and they could. I bet you they'll be like 10 or 11, right? It'd be hard to put them out, but they've earned it. That's the way it is in college football. But exciting time for college football. I can't wait to see what happens over the next.
I just took it completely off the rails, away from the Big 12 and into the SEC.
Yeah. No. Hey. I mean, listen. That's where it is. But I do think though that a Big 12 champion, undefeated, should get in. No question.
Yeah.
But when you start looking at, well, if it's a one-loss TCU, so let's just say this: if you've got the hardest remaining schedule in the country, right? It's what all the experts are saying. If I lose one game, and I've got the hardest schedule in the country, I win the Big 12 championship. Why is it just this foregone conclusion that, oh, you're out because you lost one game? Like, I'm literally about to go through the toughest 4-game stretch in the country, and so I went 3-1. I'm a Big 12 champion, but we're out. Like, we're out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, look, I'm not a fan of the 4-team playoff. I think that should be expanded, and it is, going to be expanded, because I agree with you. You've got a one-loss team that is super strong, and look, I'm not ruling out TCU. That game this weekend, I think, is a pivotal game for Texas and TCU. So whichever team wins that game, I think, is got a good chance. Well, most likely going to the Big 12 championship.
Yeah, I think if I was a betting man, and I am, I'd be okay around Texas. The Baylor game is the one I'm scared about, and the Iowa State, they probably have the best defense in the conference, and that's going to be
go Cyclones.
Yeah, go Cyclones. So there you go.
I see.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with them. All right, let's. I'll tell you what. Let's, as always, guys. Appreciate you tuning in. If we've got some problems with sound or anything like that, please let us know. We'll work on that. If you've got questions for us, if you've got comments, please drop them in the comment section, and we'll get to all of that. And yes, Aiden Meeks is an amazing wide receiver, to say the least. I like your comment there. Alyssa, what's going on? I know it's playoff time here at Heritage Christian Academy, and a big turnaround for the Eagles this year. Mm-hmm. And, now everything that they've kind of worked for is time to go. They've lost one game this year, and so now we're going to get started. What's the schedule like? Who are they going to be playing against? I know it's Azle Christian.
Yes, Azle Christian.
Tell us a little bit about it.
A lot's taking off this week. It's been a little challenging, to say the least. We know that the flu is going around everywhere, so our quarterback is actually sick. So, number 15, Carson Taylor, is going to be taking over. And then we've had a couple other players, over the weekend get sick, but they're healed and they're back at it again. We are playing Azle Christian at Azle at 7:30 this team, and we have hope for it. I mean, I've been lucky enough to have classes with the football guys, so I've been hearing, how they've been checking out the stats and stuff like that, and I think overall, if they just stay focused and they watch out for those 2 key players, this next game
for Azle.
For Azle, yeah.
Who are those? Do you have?
Yeah. I've heard that they've that they need to keep their eye on the running back. I'll keep all our slots to ourselves.
Okay.
But yeah. But the number 19, they said, is really aggressive on defense. So they need to be extra energized on offense, and because we do have so little players, we're constantly playing offense and defense. So just keeping focused on the game, and if they make a touchdown, don't let that get to us. Keep going.
Have you talked with Coach Mack and get his kind of thoughts on what this week?
I've talked to Coach Nevins, the defense coordinator, and he sees a lot of hope in this upcoming game. And
worries, I think we kind of just skipped over it. The quarterback's going to be out with with an illness. Have they said anything, any of the coaches, or are you hearing anything as far as just some confidence about the players that'll be stepping in?
Yeah, it's a little shaky, but they've been having to adjust their practices and just really speaking words of confidence into this freshman that's going to be quarterback.
Yeah, I think for the Eagles, just kind of try to figure a way to keep doing what you've been doing. Next man up. That's been a theme for a lot of teams around here with Royce City, Heath. Rockwall's. They've on the injury front. Once they got past the Lake Bennett injury, they've stayed pretty healthy. So, but I mean, hey, that's what it is. It's there's teams are hurt, there's injuries and things like that going around. You have to just figure a way out to step up and move on.
It feels like every game someone's being injured. Will Constable, he was in a boot, but luckily our game got canceled because of the tornadoes that happened last Friday, so he was not out for the game. He'll be back for this game, but yeah.
So last week was canceled, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So
luckily.
Hey, I mean that's a good week to get some players healthy and things like that. So I mean I'm sure that was welcomed by Coach Mack, and now they get started for the playoffs. We look for celebrating 3 Rockwall County 6A football teams headed. Yes, it's amazing what's going on right now. I mean, and Mr. Summers, I appreciate that comment. I mean, you talk about the 3 schools, Rockwall Heath, Royce City, Heritage Christian Academy, and Dallas Christian. I mean, and a lot of I've heard some stuff about 80% of the student population over at Dallas Christian lives here in Rockwall. That's a lot of talent in the smallest county in Texas.
For sure.
Being able to compete and make the playoffs. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent in this county. We should be very proud.
Yeah.
Again, I say it every week we come on, but where we live, the small county, and the amount of talent that we have moving in. So, talk a little bit about the atmosphere, right? It's got to be pretty exciting over there, and everybody's got to be pretty happy. And
sure.
So, talk a little bit about what's the mentality over there, and the hype and the excitement. I mean, it's got to be pretty good.
Yeah, there's a lot of expectation from all the students, and it's just. I think that's like the main overall theme is just this new buzzing energy here at this season of football and just throughout like the whole school. But because there are high expectations, that does come with, nervousness and anxiety from the players. But I think everyone knows that, yes, you can have expectations, but, words of encouragement and constantly giving back to the football players is a main part of why we've been doing so great in the stands and on the field.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's really cool. We talk about this, that close family, Heritage Christian Academy. It feels like over there. And listen, they're going to need support. They're going to need people to travel out there because this is, it feels like this is that first one is a big one. That first playoff win, especially when you're a team that's coming back from a year of not doing so well. This year, you've learned how to win. You've done some amazing things, but now you have to take a step. You have to take a step for your program, and so this first win, this is going to be a really, really tough one. But if they can get over that hump, now they have some confidence. That maybe they get the quarterback back, and they start rolling, and who knows what can happen after that. So no doubt it's going to be tough. Anything else on Heritage Christian Academy football? I know basketball starting up this week too, or soon too.
Yes, basketball practices started happening this week, and since we are such a close school and small school, we have lots of teachers and coaches playing multiple hats. So Coach Mack and Coach Nevins are now the girls basketball coaches.
Okay.
So they've been having to find a new routine to football practice and basketball practice. So that's been fun to watch how they switch between who's coaching what today.
Yeah.
But both of the girls and guys first basketball games are November 12th.
Okay.
I believe they are at home. It's over our Thanksgiving break, so it'll be a good segue into this season.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So basketball starting up everywhere around here, and it's amazing the amount of talent as well, basketball, but it's going to come fast and furious. It's already starting, and meanwhile we're trying to manage all the playoff football stuff, and then of course hey, the Rockwall, they're still doing their thing in the playoffs, so the Lady Jackets for the volleyball. Okay. Anything else before we let you go?
Well, actually, Hannah Rosique, we know we've talked about her a lot. She's very mentionable here.
Yep.
She actually,
Volleyball.
yes, she actually had her signing today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so she is the outside hitter on the varsity volleyball team, and she signed today to play beach volleyball at UMHB.
Yeah,
So
so
she's
that's
officially a
a big thing.
Crusader.
Yeah, she's going to be playing beach volleyball. She's never played beach volleyball, but they recruited her for that. They thought she'd do really well. So congrats to Hannah, and all the best of luck to you. And it's been an absolute joy getting to know you and talk with her on the show and her dad and things like that. So congrats on that. All right, Alyssa, thank you so much.
Yeah,
we look forward to catching up with you next week. We'll try and bring you. I'll try and get Coach Mack in here, and we'll talk a little bit about this playoff weekend, and hopefully we're talking about a win. But regardless, it's been a really fun, cool season for the Eagles over at Heritage Christian Academy. So wish you all the best and safe travels.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we do, we're going to come back. We'll be joined by Mr. Matt Diggs, myself, and James Branch, and we're going to talk a little 10-6A football playoffs, and we're going to start with Rockwall. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Shop the Rock at Rockwall Ford. Get rock bottom pricing on 500 new Fords, cars, trucks, SUVs. We got it all. Log online and get your rock bottom deals today. Visit us at I-30 exit 205.
RockwallFord.com.
We are back. We are live here at Rockwall Ford, and boy, we got to be. It's a big week for high school football, and so we had to bring in some power here. Mr. Matt Diggs, thank you so much for joining us again. I am a big fan of what you do. I love all the stuff that you put out and all the updates, and you're certainly well connected in the Texas high school football community, well respected, and so thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a dream of mine to come on this thing. No, seriously.
Man, here we go.
I've been enjoying what you've done for a while now. So I'm glad that we missed each other at the Heath Trinity game earlier this year.
Did.
But I'm glad to be here, and hope that I don't run off the audience, and you might be invited back one day.
No, I'm telling you. Hey, listen, it's always we have our own thoughts, and we get close to these teams, and sometimes our opinions are a little biased, and we
like this
no,
shirt
never,
we
no,
got
no,
on right
no.
here.
Never biased at all.
But hey, I try to keep it real a little bit, and try to make sure that we're talking positively about the kids and things like that. But here we are with playoff football, and so again, thank you so much for coming in. Let's kind of give people your background really quickly, and how you got started in all this, and where you currently work and all that stuff.
Yeah, I am the DFW insider for DFW Inside High School Sports, which is the TV show on NBC5, 6:30 on Saturdays. I work with the social media. Pat Doney is the live guy in front of the camera. Although I'm showing him right now, Pat. I can get your job here with my on-screen experience. I've been doing this pretty much for 25 years now. I fell in love with high school football. My senior year at Plano East was the infamous Plano East John Tyler game, and I promised myself at that point that I would never miss a Plano East game until they won a state championship, and I'm going to grow old with that promise, unfortunately, but I've been doing that. But I loved high school football from that point on. So when I was in college, I got involved, volunteered as many places as I could to get involved in the industry, got connected through that mechanism. One day, as you probably know, Chris, the pay scale for what we do is not always the best in the world, so I had to make a business decision. Was I going to attract a beautiful wife and have a better job, or do high school football for the rest of my life? So I decided I would actually do both. I would actually become a college professor, and I would also do high school football on the side. So you're asking the question about this nickname. I'm a real college professor. So
there you go.
There is no fakeness as far as that goes.
Okay.
I have been up in front of classrooms. In fact, I got started in Rockwall. There's a little enclave where Collin County is connected to Rockwall. They have a little industry, a little area over there. So I taught in Rockwall my first year, and after that they put me back at the Plano campus, where I've been teaching ever since then. But I've been involved in this. I've been fortunate enough to get to know all the coaches and be a part of the community, and it's been great. And some people consider this a job. I consider it's a passion and a hobby. So I absolutely love it, and that's why I enjoy being here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The passion and hobby thing, and not a job. That's exactly right. This is by far one of the coolest things that I've ever done, and it's so cool to be able to talk to folks, about the kids and all the cool things they're doing, and then over the past couple of years, the obsession, the passion, and the relationship that I have with high school football and now other sports. I'm starting to really respect and learn volleyball, and the baseball crowds here in Rockwall County, and the softball, and you can go on and on and on, and so it's really cool to be a part of, and it's also really cool to meet a Texas high school football nerd. I can say that.
I love that, and I don't cover much of the other sports, but I remember that viral video around
Mm-hmm.
last year with the Heath and Rockwall game at that sellout kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. They're like, this is baseball and high school baseball in Texas, and both communities really showed out for that one.
Let's jump into it. I want to talk a little bit about Rockwall, and I'm going to put up a little graphic here. I'll cover my ugly mug up, and so I did kind of by the numbers. Rockwall 9-1. They're ranked number 18 by Dave Campbell's Texas Football. They're going to play a 4-5 or 4-6 Saxy team. This really is really about Rockwall, and them kind of getting better and taking a next step, because I think if you just look at everything, the total yards, Rockwall's over 4,400 yards for the season. Saxe just over 3,400. The points scored, the points allowed, just on and on and on. You can go whatever category you want, and this is about Rockwall and them preparing for the next few rounds.
Absolutely, and Rockwall is a team that I think the last couple of years might have peaked a little bit early in their playoff run. For whatever reason, if it was injuries, depth, or whatever the case may be, we've seen consistently that Heath game early on. There's always that letdown game after they play Heath, but this team doesn't seem to have that. They seem to be going on a progression to where they're getting better every week. They have a higher goal, and obviously not seeing Duncanville in the second round is maybe a little bit of a mental block where you don't have to look at that and go, okay, how we're going to beat the best team in the state, or even a DeSoto, depending on how that goes. Last year when they lost to DeSoto, and this year Duncanville wouldn't be potentially till the fourth round. So they have an opportunity to feel comfortable in the playoffs and get a little bit of momentum. And playing 9-6A, first off, I don't know if that's going to give them the challenge that they need necessarily, but Saxe's a team that you can't take for granted. They're a team that is also getting better at the right time. They're a team that I completely wrote off about 2 or 3 weeks into the district play, but all of a sudden they got hot at the right time. Their offense has turned it up to that next level, but their defense is going to be a little bit going to find some struggles against Rockwall's prolific offense.
Yeah, it's funny. You look at last year's offensive production for Rockwall and this year's, and of course with Braden Locke and everything that they were doing, over 5,800 yards in offense last year. This year, it's down. It's just over 4,400. The defense statistics, I looked at both from last year to this year, and nothing really jumped off the page as far as like, are they getting more turnovers? Are they getting more sacks? They did have the sacks total was up a little bit, but it just feels like for whatever reason this is a better overall team than last year and the year before when they had these prolific offense that was just you could not stop.
Yeah, Rockwall has some really good defensive talent. I mean, they may not be coming up with the turnovers, but Jarrett Stoner has been all over the place. You watch a clip of Rockwall, and he just jumps off the screen at you. And Weston Flowers has been fantastic. Brandon Rikers has been an unsung hero, really, for Rockwall. When you have that kind of depth on the defensive side of the ball, they didn't have that. They didn't. Lake Bennett was playing defense at times last year, just trying to get their best players on the field defensively. And have a little bit of a patchwork defense. This year, they've got 11 really good players on the defensive side of the ball. They've got depth, and they are playing at a high level. They are playing team concept defense, and they're able to, when I was looking at the Tyler Legacy recap, they didn't have a ton of yards in that game, yet they were scored 42 at halftime or whatever, high numbers, because they were getting 3 and outs and getting the ball back in good field position. So they don't have to go 80, 90 yards. They're able to only go 50, 60 yards, and they are consistently doing that, and then getting another 3 and out, and they're just putting their foot on the throat of their opponents very early with that defense.
Yeah, you've seen them. You've been up close to Rockwall a couple times.
Yeah, look, Rockwall is a very well-rounded team. They're well coached. They've got a lot of talent. They're well put together. They are a machine on all aspects of the field. They put together a complete game, from their special teams to their offense to their defense. And when you just watch them come out and play week after week after week, I always say, well, Rockwall just has to do what they do. And that's just go out, take care of business. They don't make a lot of mistakes. And they just continue week after week to just keep plugging along and staying on the tracks, and I fully expect them to go ahead and take care of business this week. And we'll be sitting here next week talking about Rockwall in the next round, and most likely the week after that as well.
Yeah, so. I just saw a stat, because I was kind of looking. So last year's team, they gave up just over 290 points before the bi-district game, and this year they've given up just 195. And you've already named a few, but Stobaugh is a guy that's his name's called like every day. You have Cunningham, who makes the transition from safety to linebacker. I think that has been a huge. credit to the coaches and Coach Brooks for seeing that and saying, hey, we're going to need you to play a different position, and it's made an impact, right? So this defense, they're really good. I think, looking at the bracket and how everything's shaping up, this team could, it would not surprise me to look up and say, hey, this team's in the regional finals playing. I mean, so, everything they do is very good offense, defense. The special teams is it's – I don't know. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything better. It's amazing to watch. You never know what's coming.
Yep.
Yeah. You never know what they're about to do when they're just simply kicking off.
Right.
Yeah, and look, the kids have bought in.
Yeah.
They've bought into the program. They've bought into the coaching. Even when you watch them warm up, when they go about there, and look, we have the rivalries in county, right? So there's always a little bit of trash talk or whatever back and forth. But when you see them play – outside of the rivalry Royce City Heath teams, they're all business and they're just out there clicking, every time. So
yeah.
I don't expect us, and we talked about injuries on the last segment. They've kept them to they've minimized the injuries, and so they're doing all the right things to move them forward throughout these next several weeks.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned the special teams with Rockwall, because Coach Young has done a fantastic job over there. And I've joked on Twitter a few times where I've gotten him in my DMs, kind of like, Diggs, what are you talking about here? That I think he almost has too much time on his hands. The creativity that he has in putting together some of these plays. One of the things I always look forward to going to seeing a Rockwall game is what wrinkle is he going to bring out?
Right.
If you need an onside kick, if it gets to the point in the regional semifinals or regional finals, they've got something there that you haven't seen before, and it's just figuring out,
And there's no situation. There's no trends. They'll do it on the first one. They'll do it up 30. They'll do it down 7 with, whatever. They'll do it just any part of the game to let you know, don't go to sleep.
Right.
Because
you're going to fail if you do.
And look, that's a testament to Coach Brooks allowing and trusting and believing in his coaches and his players that they can execute something like that. It reminds you of the Chiefs, where they allow Mahomes and Kelsey to do crazy stuff when they get down in the end zone. So it's awesome to see them that everybody just buys in.
Yeah. So a solid team. I think. Listen again, Rockwall. They'll play home versus Saxe this week. It's I tweeted it out earlier in the week because volleyball, they just played the girls. They just played Saxe last night. Incredible match, and we'll talk about that later on towards the end of the show. But I said it wasn't going to be a good week for Saxe, and the girls they did their part, and now fully expect Rockwall to go out there and impose their will on Saxe. And listen, I feel like 9-6A is 10-6A is 11-6A, right? Like too
many numbers there,
right? But I guess that district 9-6A, they really don't want to see 10-6A early on, and the same thing with 10-6A. They don't want to mess with Duncanville or DeSoto and things like that right now. So, but listen, just like Wiley East finished on top, if they're gonna go deep, you got to figure a way to get past that district and then go forward from there.
Yeah. And Saxe has so many wrinkles. They're going to have a couple of wrinkles as well. I got to see them early on in the season. They played Coppell, and Coppell pretty much had their way with them. And I think Rockwall's a little bit better than Coppell. So if that game was a 5-touchdown game, you can kind of calibrate how that might look. They've got kind of a dual quarterback situation over there with Victor Jesus Gutierrez and Brendan George. Popacana is a really nice running back, so keep an eye on him. Jet Creel, he's been a receiver there for a couple of years. He's always good for an amazing catch, but they just don't have the depth on the offensive and defensive lines, and I think Rockwall is going to force a lot of 3-and-outs because they are going to be able to impose their will very early.
Let me ask you one more thing on Rockwall before we move on to Royce City. As balanced as they are and as good as they look in all 3 phases and everything like that, the rankings are for us, right? Do you see they've not been able to, ever since the loss to Prosper, to really move anywhere from that number 18 to number 20 spot? Do you see them that big of a gap between the cream of the crop, say the top 10 in the state?
I really do. I mean, I got in trouble with some of our friends in Rockwall because I thought they were a little overrated to start out the season because they got that top 10 seeding, and I just didn't think that they had enough to justify that. When you watch Denton Geyers and Duncanvilles of the world, they're next level. And it's not to say that Rockwall won't compete with them, but Rockwall, the way their playoff bracket looks, third round, a team like Spring Westfield, it's been a kryptonite for a lot of area teams over the past couple of years. That's going to be kind of their 50-50 game to see will they be able to win a game against that, that middle tier, and that'll let us know should they have been maybe in that 10 to 15 or a little bit higher, and that'll be their great opportunity to prove it on the field.
Yeah. It's going to be fascinating to watch. Again, Rockwall, they will play at home against Saxe this week, and Rockwall will be heavy favorites. And we'll look for Lake Bennett just to now start his playoff run as the starting quarterback with Rockwall. Of course, Lake, really quick shout out before we move on. Over 1,500 yards passing, 68% completion, 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Rushed for over 230 yards and had 8 rushing TDs as well. So he obviously is a big part of what's if Rockwall's going to have some success. So okay, let's do this. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be jumping into some Royce City football, and we're going to talk about the Bulldogs. Of course, this is their first year in 6A. And now they will start their playoff run as a 6A team. So let's talk about them in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. This past segment was brought to you by Tucker Roofing Systems. Play like a champion. Thank you, Mr. Tucker, for supporting our efforts. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Shop the Rock at Rockwall Ford. Get rock bottom pricing on 500 new Fords, cars, trucks, SUVs. We got it all. Log online and get your rock bottom deals today. Visit us at I-30 exit 205.
RockwallFord.com.
All right, we're back. We're live here at Rockwall Ford. Myself, Chris Pena, we got Mr. James Branch, and then our special guest for the night, Mr. Matt Diggs, who is a big-time Texas insider, Texas high school football insider. And so, again, I'll put his Twitter information up just a moment if you want some good coverage and know what's going on around the area in Texas high school football playoffs and beyond in the state. He's a great follow. Okay, so, hey, this is one of those interesting teams here. We're going to talk about Royce City and, the Bulldogs. They, of course, we've said it many times, they make the jump from 5A Division II to 6A. Traditionally does not bode well for those teams because they're skipping an entire division in 5A. And then not only that, you've got to move into a district like 10-6A where you have Rockwall, Heath, and then, of course, the Mesquite schools have been coming up. They've been stronger. Tyler Legacy, they had a down year, but it's been always really tough to travel out east. And so it was a tough district for them to come in. a couple of notes here. I will say, of course, they're gonna play their by-district game versus Naaman Forest at home. They win a coin flip, and so they're going to get to play at home. That's because they both finished third in district.
Right.
So just because this is really news to me and those out there that are saying, well, of course they're home. They were the number 1 seed in their district. That's really not how it works. In 6A football, it depends on the team you're playing, where they finish in district as well. So both teams finished third in their district, which means even though Naaman Forest is the 2nd seed in their district in D2, they still had to flip a coin to see where the game was going to be played. Royce City gets a home game, and their first year ever, and I'll put up the graphic for this game here. Royce City, they finished 6-4, which is what I had them finishing on the season, 6-4. They're going to play Naaman Forest, who is 5-5. Just kind of breaking down the numbers here. Offensively, they look pretty even. Royce City on the year over 4,200 yards. Naaman Forest over 4,000 yards. Both, points allowed, points scored. Royce City 340 to Naaman Forest. They've only scored 281 points allowed, though. The Bulldogs 296 to Naaman Forest 242. Sacks, Naaman Forest looks like they can get after it. They've got 20 on the year, and both of them have created about the same amount of turnovers, with the Bulldogs 17 on the year and Naaman Forest with 16. Matt, let's start with this. I know. Listen, I was shoving Royce City down your throat from day one, and it really was just me just seeing what last year, how they started off with the 8-0 record, and then they ran into the meat of their schedule with some younger players, and it just wasn't their time. They dropped it. They a tough draw in the playoffs. I think it was a Frisco team, and they bow out first round. But with all those starting players that they had coming back, I just felt like if you looked around the district, with Mesquite graduating a lot of players, with Horn having the crazy year with all that talent, but they had a lot of kids coming back, but a first-year head coach, you don't know what's going on with them. Tyler Legacy, you didn't feel like that was they lose the running backs that were just big time recruited, and with Heath the same thing. You just felt like, all right, well they're graduating a lot of players. They get in a new head coach. You felt like this could be the perfect storm, the perfect year for them to step into 6A. That proved to be true. Just some of your thoughts on Royce City.
Well, the first thing I think, if we're playing one of those word association games, and somebody says Royce City, I think of heart. I mean, heart and resilience. This is a team that has dealt with multiple injuries. I mean, their quarterback plays on the defense. I mean, you just don't see that at the 6A level at times. And Kenneth Spring has been amazing. I think a lot of people in the media area might think of Sam Mitchum when they think of Royce City, but Kenneth Spring has been fantastic for Royce City, and has really given them a bit of a hybrid option as far as that they like to run the ball, but if they got to put it up in the air, they've got some unique sets. I was watching the Heath game in a rain delay, and just some of the creativity that Royce City was using offensively. You just can't plan for one thing with them, and you have to be prepared for a spectrum of either throwing it or passing it with Royce City. And you're absolutely right. I thought Royce City was going to finish 5th, so I'm sorry, Royce City. Don't ban me from Buc-ee's, or anything over there. The gateway to East Texas over there at Royce City Stadium. I can't wait to see that new stadium as it gets remodeled. By the way, I'm going to be excited to see that whole complex grow over there. And I've been watching Royce City, since they were down in 4A, and even in their old stadium, And so Royce City has been a fun team to watch. And yeah, like you said, I think perfect storm was really it, because they were able to capitalize. They say luck is when preparation meets opportunity, and there was an opportunity there, and they were prepared for it.
Yeah, you talked about Kenneth Spring. He's actually finished the regular season number 16 in the area in passing yards at 1,851, 17 TDs. He also added 680 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns. And obviously you mentioned Sam Mitchum. He finishes number 2 in the area in rushing with 1,478 yards, 19 touchdowns. Obviously two guys that this Roy City team is going to go as far as they go. Is if the offensive line can give them a little bit of time and let these guys do their thing and try and get them the yardage they need to win some football games. James, obviously you're close. Your son plays a defensive back for the Bulldogs. Just this season, how excited are you for this week? And then, just overall, I know what your expectations are, but, you still had to be a little surprised that they were able to do what they were.
Yeah, well, I mean, believe it or not, we talk expectation. The expectation was for us to just be competitive, right? Moving up into 6A. If we were still down in 5A, that'd be a whole different discussion that we'd be having. So, but it's not. We're in 6A. We knew we were coming into it. We knew we had a lot of talent. I said this at the beginning of the year. A lot of these kids that are seniors this year played together since they were 3rd, 4th grade. There was a couple of them that played together since kindergarten. So we knew we had the talent. The coaches are seasoned. We knew we had a game plan coming in. The Spring brothers, are as tough as nails. So we just had to figure out how to put it all together, and I think we've done that. The kids have bought into the program. The coaches have been creative. And, again, we picked at the beginning of the year. I thought we were going in 4th, and we ended up going in 3rd. And we had one heck of a game against Heath, a couple of weeks ago. Unbelievable, man. That was a miserable, filthy game.
Yeah, a game that could have gone either way. I mean,
absolutely.
That you want to talk about that game really quickly. I mean, the adjustment that was made to start the 4th quarter by Roy City, the entire game, it's 3 down linemen, 3 down linemen, 3 down linemen on the defensive side, and to that point, Heath has over 400 yards rushing in the game, and then all of a sudden, they switch it, they put a 4th man down, and then I think Heath just maybe totals 15 yards the entire 4th quarter and overtime. That was the difference. There was a little adjustment made, and that they pull out a game that could have gone either way. It was an incredible game.
Well, and I'll tell you just a quick note on that because I don't want to spend a lot of time because we want to talk about the next round. But when that rain delay happened, and they went in, and we had the first rain delay, and then we had another one halfway through, and then they came back out, and I was down on the field for that game. And all of a sudden, the boys come walking down the tunnel, and they got on the field, and they start hollering, and they're barking, and they're doing. And I think I looked over at one of my buddies, and I said, "What's going on here? What just happened?" And he goes, "I don't know." And I said, "Oh boy," and because there was something happened while they were in that rain delay, and they were warming up in the indoor, and it took them a long time to come out. And we were looking. I was like, "Where's the kids at?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Dude, we're going to do what we want to do."
Right.
They're not going to tell us what to do.
Right.
And so, man, that was I was just like, okay, well, we're fixing to have us a fight. Yeah. And that's exactly what ended up happening.
Yeah.
So, but it could have gone either way.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about Heath, but I am super excited about this game. The excitement around the school and the community is there. Tickets went on sale yesterday, and I don't know how it's looking yet, but we've got all of our boys are as healthy as they can be. I wish we had, and all the injuries we've had this year are key players. Right. Our center, one of our receivers. It's crazy, how all that's happened. But everybody that's healthy is healthy. The Horn game, we went out there in the first half. We were competitive. It was great. And then, we said, okay, we did what we could. Now let's get ready for the playoffs. We don't want to get anybody injured. I think that was smart on the coach, Petrov, to do that. Would we have liked to win? Absolutely.
Right.
Of course. But it didn't affect where we were.
Right.
I mean, if we won, we wouldn't have had to flip a coin.
Yeah, and here I was up here acting like I know what I'm talking about. I'm like, oh, it doesn't really matter. Just rest everybody.
Yeah.
And then I come to find out about the whole seeding thing and about where you place in district in 6A. So hey, it was a heck of a season, for the Bulldogs. But now it's time to play some playoff football, and they have a Naaman Forest team that just looking at them, they've got a running back who's number 10 in the area,
Cunning,
Isaiah Cunning. Yeah, he's doing his thing. This Marcus Deal, this defensive end, he's got 7 sacks on the year. He looks like a big guy, 6'6". I'm sure he moves around. I'm sure on the defensive line, going to play some tackle and things like that. I mean, this is a team. Their quarterback, sophomore, 63%, 18 touchdowns, to 5 interceptions. They've got some players, they've got some playmakers, and it doesn't, this looks like, this could be a tough game for Royce City. I think, ultimately, I think there was a comment in here by Gary Oldfield. He's saying, y'all won't say it, so I will, 10-6A sweep. I actually think some people have said there's a 10-6A sweep, and maybe you've said that.
Yep.
But yeah, I think this is a game that Royce City can and should win, but Naaman Forest looks like they got a few players.
They do have a few players, but that's kind of the problem with Naaman Forest is they just have those few players. Debo Perales, the quarterback, he's the coach's son. So anytime you have a coach's son at quarterback, it's almost like having an extra coach on the field. Their bonding time is sitting and kind of creating plays and talking about different schemes and methods of that. And Isaiah Cunning is a smaller running back, but he is very fast. He gets big yardage. It's kind of like all or nothing. But Naaman Forest, they're really going to struggle on the offensive and defensive line. And I know their best player, Marcus Deal, at least their best player as far as who's being recruited.
Mm-hmm.
When you actually dig into their statistics, Ivan Garcia, Dylan Stevens, a couple of their sophomore players have really been more of the production things. But if there was a 4th and 1 play, you don't want to see Marcus Deal there. He can step up for the big plays. But Naaman Forest is kind of backed into the playoffs a little bit, and Royce City has been peaking at the right time. I think Royce City, could win this game pretty comfortably.
Yeah, I hope so. And Perales can sit with his dad and scheme all day long, but he's got 4 guys in Harris and Rob and Klump and Scott that are going to be in his face. So he better be able to move, because if he can't, he's gonna see our turf, our brand new turf, a few times this week, and I fully expect that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, hey, and this Bulldog team, it all revolves around how they can start the game, right? If they start out hot, if they establish the run quickly, if Sam Mitchum gets going quickly, then yeah, this game could get out of hand. Because I've seen predictions of Royce City, 20-20, but so your statement is kind of what I've been seeing out there on Twitter from different sites and things like that. The whole Royce City and jumping on, It seemed like it took through the Heath game, right? And for no fault of yours, it's a proven thing. It's hard to jump from 5A Division II. Right. But you've mentioned some players. What do you think the ceiling for this team is if you look at the bracket and things like that?
When you play bracketology, I bet some Royce City parents are a little bit excited because they're on the opposite side of DeSoto. So when you're on the opposite side of DeSoto, there's always a chance. And, I kind of, if you want to parallel a 10-6A parallel, if you think of Rockwall Heath at their best, that's probably the best team they would have to play on that side of the bracket. So if they can get up to that level where they can beat Rockwall Heath at their best, they could potentially go 4 deep. Now, they're going to be an underdog next week when they play either Harker Heights or Mansfield. But again, they're not going to be looking across the field at whichever team that is and going, we're not going to be competitive with those guys.
Right.
They're going to look at them and go, it kind of looks like, Rockwall Heath, know, and they're going to say, okay, we've already beat Rockwall Heath.
Right.
Can we play our best game today? So I think Royce City has to be very excited when looking at it. The Houston teams on this side of the bracket are not the strongest Houston teams either.
Yeah, look, one good thing about being in this district is we have faced the toughest teams in Rockwall, being a top-tier team. And, again, we've always said from the beginning of the season, Rockwall Heath is right up there until proven otherwise. So you still have to put them there too. And we've been underdogs the whole season.
Right.
I think we were picked to beat Tyler Legacy. I think that was the first game we may have been picked to win, and then, of course, we saw a win. So we're okay with being the underdog.
Right.
So, that doesn't bother us at all. It seems like last year when we were 8-0, we were the underdog in every game, I think. So, being the underdog doesn't bother us. We're super excited. And to be honest with you, I don't know that the pressure is on us as so much as it is the other teams, because it is our first year. We're going to – if there's pressure, it's pressure from ourselves. So, I am extremely excited for the kids. I am not going to move and say we're going 4 deep yet. And I don't think the kids are going to say that either. I think they have bought into the program and they realize that, hey, it's 1 week at a time. We're thankful we're not playing at the Star. The Star has not been kind to us over the years, so we're so glad.
I don't like going. I don't care to video.
It has not been kind to us, so we are glad we're not playing there, and the Cowboys can have it, and we'll be okay with that. So you know what? We're excited. We expect to have a good running game. We always do. And I think we're going to be ready for this.
Yeah, it should be good.
Oh, you mentioned this, and I think it's a really, really smart for Coach Petroff to force the flip, because they could have done a neutral field. They could have played, in Murphy or something. But if they would have lost the flip and they would have had to go to Williams Stadium, I don't think it would have impacted them very much. I think it would have business as usual. But getting that home game, I think is going to be really special for that team, and I think it's going to create an atmosphere. And I think Roy City will show out, and I think that's going to be an intangible there.
It's been 4 or 5 years since we've had a home game. I think 2018, 2019. I don't remember, which one was the last time that we've had a home playoff game. And, it's been several years since we've made it past the first round. So I'm obviously super thrilled because I have a kid that's a senior and another one that's a junior on the team. So I'm extremely proud of the boys.
Yeah.
And that they have persevered. No one gave them a chance at the beginning of the year. They were just hoping we could go 5-5.
Wait a minute, Rockwall County Game Day gave you a chance.
Well,
they did.
That's why I'm on the show.
Yeah.
So listen, win or lose, we're going to win. But win or lose, I'm extremely proud of the kids and the community and the excitement and everything they've done. It'll be an emotional game no matter what.
Right.
And so, hey, we're going to go out there and we're going to give them hell.
Hey, what do we do? How can we assist you on staying on the field, during the game and things like that?
Did you not talk about this last week?
Huh? No, I don't think I did, because you weren't here. So, just want to kind of, no. Hey, listen, you got passion. And, we just need some refs out there that aren't so sensitive and they're keeping their focus on the
listen,
field.
Referees should not affect the outcome of a game.
Yeah.
Period, bottom line, end of story. And it doesn't matter, and I think we've talked about this before. And look, I'm okay with whatever you call. Just call it on both sides of the ball. And I made the comment to the ref, and he told me I had to go sit in the stands. So but you know what? That's okay. My feet were hurting anyway, and I had a really good view up there, and everybody was laughing at me. And they missed the extra point.
And they missed the extra point.
I'm just saying. They missed the extra point.
No.
So.
I thought it was. That whole night, the rain, the wind, everything that was going on. I thought, man, that's what they're worried about right now. Is a guy in their ear versus everything else.
It was unbelievable. I don't ever want to do it again.
Yeah.
It was the worst, but it was fun.
Yeah.
If I could give a shout out, I know you'll know who I'm talking about here, the longtime voice of Roy City, Bobby Summers.
Yes.
I'm glad he gets to call a home playoff game.
He's commented a couple of times. He said rushing game should have a great night. We have to stop cunning. He said the Bulldogs have 1 or 2 rushing advantage with Spring and Mitchum. That could come to fruition Friday night. So, Mr. Summers, we appreciate you, tuning in and commenting. But
and I'll piggyback one thing on Mr. Summers. I'm friends with him. Have been friends with him for years. He serves on the school board and does an awesome job. And when the boys were in Little League football,
Bulldog Hall of Famer now.
Bulldog Hall of Famer. When the boys were in Little League football, and I was on the board for the Roy City Youth Association, they asked me. They said, "Would you call the games?" And I said, "Well." So every game I tried to be like Bobby Summers and do the things that he would say when we stand for the national anthem and all that other stuff. So my one goal was if I could just be half as good as Bobby Summers, I would be doing okay. So thank you, sir. Appreciate everything you do for us.
Absolutely. Great shout out by Mr. Matt Diggs, who, if you're just joining us, he's a big time insider for Texas high school football, and the professor nickname, if you see him on Twitter, he's actually a professor. So he did not give himself a nickname. So that means I cannot give myself a nickname yet.
What would be your nickname if you're going to give yourself
Gosh, I don't
one?
know. You know, there's a few that my wife has for me, but they're not.
Maybe we should have her on and find out.
Yeah, but I don't know. But we're going to work on it. Maybe for next year at the start of January, we're going to have a whole new show and setup. But by the way, I will be at Royce City this Friday, so lots of good games to choose from.
Pre-game and halftime.
Pre-game, but the opportunity to bring this set out here and do a pre-game show and a halftime show. Thank you to Vice Henley and Dilbeck for sponsoring that pre-game and halftime show. Listen, it's just too big of an opportunity to pass up on, and
it will be fire.
Yeah,
on the pregame.
A moment. It's a really cool moment for Royce City, this area. You know, for them to step up, have the season they did, and then host a playoff game. You know, that's just one of those things that you want to be part of. And so I'll be there. And then, everything goes well for Heath Rockwall and Dallas Christian and Heritage Christian Academy. I'm going to have to flip a coin here. I'm going to have to flip a coin and see who's next.
And, hey, I didn't think you were going to be too nice to us, so I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Royce City.
All right.
I always have been.
All right.
You know, they have great hospitality for the press, so that's one thing I look at. You know, they'll always take care of us with some Soul Man's barbecue and some banana pudding up there.
That's
so
right.
You can always win my heart with a good press box spread.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do this. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to move on to the Heath Hawks, and of course, we're going to talk about them. They'll be on the road. They're going to go play Wiley East in Wiley this Friday. We're going to talk about them next. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Shop the Rock at Rockwall Ford. Get rock bottom pricing on 500 new Fords, cars, trucks, SUVs. We got it all. Log online and get your rock bottom deals today. Visit us at I-30 exit 205.
RockwallFord.com.
All right, we're back. We're live here at Rockwall Ford. We are here with Mr. Matt Diggs, a Texas high school football insider, and James Branch and myself, Chris Pena. We are talking 10 6A football, some playoff stuff, some good stuff around Rockwall and Royce City. But now it's time to talk about the Heath Hawks. Of course, Heath finishes, fourth in the district. They get into the playoffs. They, obviously will face let me put up their opponent. They're going to face a Wiley East team that is 9-1 on the year. They win District 9 6A. If you look at the numbers, Heath over 4,200 yards of total offense this year, with Wiley East just over 3,700 for the year. I think if you look at those, it's a big key stat here is points allowed. Heath has allowed 283 points on the year, whereas Wiley East has allowed 159 points on the year. That says that they play some defense. The rushing, another stat that turns out for Heath, over 2,600 yards rushing combined with their three running backs. And Wiley East is more of a balanced team. They have just over 1,800 yards on rushing and passing. So, listen, when you look at this Heath Hawks team, they have a big year for turnover, right? They have a lot of D1 guys that go on. They have a ton of college kids, even if they weren't D1, they went to other schools. Kids that are having an impact right now. Jordan Neighbors is doing well over at Baylor. You have Mr. Flores, who's playing some offensive line, and Incarnate Ward, who just seems like they're unstoppable. They're having an amazing year. So they lose a ton of talent. Coach Spradlin moves on. He retires. Coach Harrell, who was the offensive line coach, he comes in. So you've got a lot of turnover. You've got a new head coach. He brings in some new guys to try and get things going. But listen, it was a year where nobody really wants to talk rebuild or anything like that. But the reality is that they had to take a step down based off the past couple of years. But we knew that this district was still Rockwall and Heath's until proven otherwise. They still find a way. They get in the playoffs, adversity all year long, and now they're gonna they'll go to Wiley to play Wiley East for the bi-district championship. Quickly, Peyton Wingfield leads. Is a big leader on this team. He's number 19 in the area in receiving yards, 747 yards with 5 touchdowns. This is an interesting game, Matt, and I'd like to get your thoughts on Heath, and I know you've been you've been on Heath kind of all year, and you just keep mentioning them as kind of, these aren't your words, but I take it as like they're kind of a sleeping giant for you. You just feel like that this team could be really dangerous putting all things together, and you've believed that all season. You've believed it to the last tweets that I've seen recently. Just your thoughts on the Heath Hawks.
I saw Heath one game in person with my eyes. I saw them against Euless Trinity, and it was arguably their best game. And it was a game that I found out when I got in the press box, their quarterback had decided that it was only going to just be a baseball-only player. So, we're about to see Trinity just, do whatever they want to against Heath. And then all of a sudden, Caleb Hoover comes out and has an amazing game. Peyton Wingfield, comes out and has an amazing game. You see Britton Snyder just pounding the rock. And Heath looked like a team that could compete with anybody. And then something has happened along the line. I don't know if the adversity of that game kind of brought everybody together for that one moment, and then it kind of regressed back to the mean, or if other things have gone on. I know y'all are more of the Heath insiders, but I just look at their talent, and I have to think that they are a very good team. And when you had that graphic up there kind of comparing everything, again, people don't like to say it. I don't mind saying it. 9-6A is a different world. It just is. And the competition that Rockwall Heath has played is a much different calibration. North Forney's going to make the playoffs in 9-6A. And one kind of a – yeah. And one thing, kind of a thing that's interesting, one of my terms I like to use is calibration. The very first week of the year, Roy City had a nice game against Grand Prairie, beating them 58-0. Wiley East played them the next week. It was only 37-14. I mean, that's the difference, I think. And Wiley East looked great against average competition. They're going to be leveling up, and I think the pressure is really on Wiley East because they've backed into the playoffs 3 games where they've looked less than impressive.
Yeah, you look at Wiley East, they've got a Terrell Washington, who's number 4 in the area in points scored with 140 points. Obviously, a player. But, yeah, your point is well taken there because, the numbers could be skewed a little bit on the amount of, points that they're giving up because the the level of competition is just a step down from 10-6A, and so maybe that's that's the difference there. Is what really what you're trying to say.
Yeah, and I mean they lost to Rowlett. I mean that was a game that we kind of talked about. The game didn't really mean much, and it didn't mean anything for Rowlett either. But it gave Rowlett a sense of pride to be able to beat Wiley East. But even going back 2 games, they had to pull it out against Wiley in the crosstown showdown over there, and then they had to come back in the fourth quarter against North Garland, and that was a team that got blown out by Saxe to end the season. So a lot of questions for Wiley East, and I think Wiley East is going to have to prove something, just like they have a lot of things to prove, just like Heath has a lot of things to prove. But Heath has a lot more, I think, going for it than Wiley East right now.
Yeah, listen, I think Wiley East, they moved up with us. We played them last year, first game of the year, and we won that game. They were a solid team then. And then I think this year they proved that they were able to go week after week after week and continue to win. And I do agree with you, the level of competition in that district. But, there's something to be said for being able to figure out a way to go 9-0 through a season no matter where you play at. And really, I don't understand why they lost that last game. I don't know. I didn't watch it, but – for nothing else, to be able to go in and have a perfect season is something to talk about. However, look, Heath has something to prove here. Heath needs to win this game, and I believe they have the talent.
Yeah.
But they cannot do a bunch of fancy stuff. Stop the flea flickers. Stop the double reverses. Stop all that nonsense. Run the ball, pass the ball. Do what you do.
Yeah,
the KISS theory.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen. I mean, what they've done well this year is bounce back after a really tough week. We know that about them. They dropped the game to Denton Geyer early on in the season. Listen, Denton Geyer is probably going to win state. I mean, and there's really no that was a game that I didn't walk away from the Denton Geyer game thinking, boy, Heath's a terrible team. Like, it just because if you were there and you watched that game, that 47-14, there was moments in that game where Heath would take a step forward, and you felt like, man, they're a possession away from really getting into this game, and then something odd would happen, and Denton Geyer would capitalize, and they'd go right down and score, and that was the separation there. And then, of course, you get late in the fourth quarter, you're down. I mean, that the game's in hand at that point. But I didn't walk away thinking, didn't worry about Heath at that point. And then, of course, like you said, they come out to Trinity, at home. They just dominate. It was kind of unexpected.
Right.
And then they go Lake Ridge. That was a really good win for them, So you thought, okay, they're rolling. They get midway. And then they run into, the buzzsaw with Rockwall, and just things kind of spiraled early on. But they respond again with Mesquite, and they have a good game, and then of course they beat Tyler Legacy. The Horn game, I know that was a hard one to swallow for them, and a lot of fans, and I'm sure the coaches and players, nobody holds themselves to a higher standard than those coaches and players, right? So whatever we have here as fans or parents or whatever, I'm sure it's much more for them. But listen, I thought they responded tremendously against Royce City, and that game could have gone either way. I mean, so I thought that was a really good performance for them. Of course, they go on and beat North Forney. But they're 6-4. There's been a lot of chatter and a lot of what seems to be upset people. But at the end of the day, I think expectations should have been tempered a little bit. But we, as fans and as as me and everybody else, we're used to seeing some things with Heath with this high-powered stuff. But here they are in the playoffs with an opportunity to win and move on. And now all of a sudden we're saying, oh well, hey, this is just Heath. I mean, we took a small step back, but here we are. We're going to push forward and go through. I think Heath's going to be fine.
I think Heath will be fine, but just like Rockwall last year, they're going to be looking at DeSoto in the second round, and they're going to have to play their best and then some to beat a team like DeSoto. But you're talking about that you wanted to see Heath kind of keep it simple against North Forney. I feel like they did a little bit. I mean, they just pounded the rock. When you're able to get 355 yards rushing in that game. That's kind of getting back to basics. They got to minimize the mistakes, though. I mean, if Hoover's only going to throw the ball 15 times, he can't throw 2 picks. He's got to be smart with that, and that gets into some of the trickeration that you're talking about.
Yep.
Just throw down. Take the check downs and take what's there and live to fight another day and trust your defense.
Yeah, look, they got to play to their strength. Their strength is their big, strong offensive line. Hoover can run the ball. We saw it. You don't take your best receiver, Wingfield, and make him a quarterback to throw the ball. You don't do it. So Heath needs to take advantage of what they've got, that big, strong offensive line. They got 2 good running backs.
Yep.
They got Wingfield. They got Finley. They've got Hoover. Pound that rock, man. Pound the rock. Hit the short passes with Finley and Wingfield, and go score some touchdowns.
Yeah, no, they got 3 good running backs when you fill in Davenport. I mean, they're exactly right. Some things to watch, they had an injury at their center last week, and then with Eli Finley, he early on had a small little injury. He looked to be walking fine. He looked fine. They may have just taken him out for precaution at that point. But those are big pieces that Heath needs to really lean on. And is big of tight end as Eli Finley is. He has not done a ton. They really haven't utilized him a ton in the passing game. But what he's doing on the offensive line and creating space for these guys to run over 2,600 yards rushing for this offensive line, he's very, very much part of it. He's a guy that is going to be big for this team.
And look, their defense is good too, right?
I think their defense is great.
We punched them square in the face.
Yep.
If you can stop Mitchum and you can stop, Kenny, because those guys are going to come out and they hit. Kenny doesn't run out of bounds. Kenny lowers his head and knocks the mess out of you. And Sam is going to hit you as hard as he can. And that defense was able to stop the offense and stop those guys. So they can win this game if they just play Heath football.
Yep, and penalties.
Right.
Minimize penalties.
And I think they're going to relish because I think a lot of people are going to view them as an underdog in this game. They're just going to look at the 9-1 and kind of write off that Rowlett loss as a Week 11 aberration. But for me, Rockwall Heath is a clear favorite in this game.
Yeah.
And I think that Wiley East has a lot more to prove coming out of that district as, are they the Mirage kind of a team or are they for real? I think Keith is going to take advantage of a lot of those intangibles and come into this with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah, I do too,
and they should.
Yeah, and listen, this is a Coach Harrell, a young head coach who. Listen, I give Coach Harrell a lot of credit because it's not easy around here, and he's done an amazing job, and he's doing everything he can to keep it all together to get through this kind of growing pain. A win against Wiley East is going to go a long way at setting them up for not only a next round playoff game, but for the future. And also, I mean, hey, you take that win, and then if you're able to step on the field with DeSoto and you're able to hang around in that game, win or lose, obviously winning would be tremendous. But, I mean, if you can go toe-to-toe with DeSoto and you fall just a little short, it was a good season. With all things considered.
And I don't think it's a blowout by any means. I think it's going to be a good, close, physical game. But I think Heath can win. Absolutely. I absolutely do think.
Yeah. Lastly, on this, before we kind of end up round out, I want to talk about Horn real quick. And the team that they were, obviously they come in, they take second in the district, and they had all these returning players. We knew they had talent last year, but whatever reason, whatever happened, they weren't getting the message with those coaches. They bring in Coach Harris, Coach
Allen.
Coach Allen from North Crowley, and he brings some guys with him. Of course, credit to them because North Crowley's still doing their thing. But here they are, turned around very quickly, and they're not afraid to let you know it. Because people were saying I look at their Twitter feed, it's like, oh hey, 2 years, 3 years before we're able to turn things around. Here they are. This is a very tough team.
They are.
This is a very good team. Yeah, your thoughts on Horn real quick.
And they got a lot of depth. I mean, they've had to play 4 quarterbacks at some time this year, and then they just keep with Raheem Beck and then Jalen Thomas just able to rotate those players. They got 2 of their best running backs are sophomores. They got playmakers. You saw it against Teeth when they had that pick 6 to turn around the game. They make turnovers defensively. It's great to have a good defense. We talked about Rockwall, and they had a very good defense. Mesquite Horn is a playmaking defense, and that's a very scary thing. But, again, it's about the draws. And if they are able to get by the first week against Wiley, looking at Duncanville, and
right.
Duncanville is just another level.
Yeah, I mean, again, listen, Rockwall knows all too well, right? I mean, the last 2 years when they have to draw DeSoto, then those Braden Locke years, and they couldn't get past that hump
Right.
As a team. But it's all about the draw.
I think they can get past Wiley.
Yes.
I expect.
yes.
I fully expect them to get past Wiley, and then who knows what'll happen? That's going to be a fist fight. That Duncanville and them.
Yeah, listen. You never know, right? You
Right.
never know what can happen in games. I mean, you look at years ago when Rockwall went on their run, and they beat Allen, and they, all these things happen. So, it's going to be really interesting. I think I'm with Mr. Gary Oglesfield. I think I think that's who made that comment. I think 10-6A.
10-6A sweep.
It has a sweep this week, and then we'll see what happens in round 2. Any final things? Any final tidbits you want to drop on us? Some nuggets before you head out.
Well, I think we've said it all. I do think we're going to see a 10-6A sweep. I don't even know if we're going to see many competitive games at the end of the day. But I think we're seeing a lot of growth. Mesquite Horn, like you said, is really fun to watch. I saw them against North Forney, and they just got playmakers on so many different positions, and they're going to be good next year too. So that's going to be something. Roy City's going to be graduating a lot, so I don't. So Mesquite
Let's talk
Horn,
about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But Mesquite Horn, they're going to be fun to watch for the next couple of years.
Yeah, 100%. Everything gets started Friday night. So Heath, again, they'll be at Wiley. They're going to take on Wiley East. Roy City will be at home versus Naaman Forest. Rockwall will be at home versus Saxe. And sorry, Saxe, it's not going to be a good week for you. But hey, listen, they were very competitive in that volleyball game last night, so they got nothing to hold it. And what an incredible atmosphere.
5 sets, right?
5 sets, and we're going to talk about volleyball in a little bit later on towards the end of the show. But that was an incredible atmosphere. Playoff volleyball is super fun to watch, and congrats to the Rockwall Lady Yellow Jackets who are going to head to the to the regional tournament in Lufkin this Friday. So it's a bummer that they're this Friday. Well, I was hoping or sure it'd be on a Thursday, but they're going to do it on Friday, and everybody's playing football Friday, so that's a tough one. Yep. Mr. Diggs, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. And then to kind of round out, you have Wiley and Mesquite Horn at Allen. So make sure you have your parking money for that.
Yeah.
Allen will charge you parking.
Oh,
wow.
There you go. Yeah. So
Public service announcement for our friends at Mesquite Horn.
Public service announcement. You will not have to pay for parking in Rockwall this year.
Or Roy City.
So I can't speak for Wiley, but
Wiley will be good too.
Yeah.
They'll take care of you there.
Hey. Inflation's here, so maybe next year we're talking about a different thing, right?
You never know, man. You never know.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to let Mr. Matt Diggs go. Thank you so much for coming and chatting with us and talking a little football. We'll follow you. Again, I'll put out how to follow Matt on Twitter, and you can he's got some really good insight and really does a good job of letting you know what's going on in the area with football. So keep up the grind, man.
I appreciate it.
I have a lot of fun and respect for you, and I can't wait to see what goes on this weekend.
Yeah. Hey, one last thing. Pleasure meeting you, man.
Nice
Appreciate
meeting
it.
you as well.
And you've got Dallas Christian coming up, so
Yep,
I'm gonna let you do that with them. But
Okay.
man, for me, parting, I'm just so thankful to live in Rockwall County and be part of this and be part of this community. And I'm so proud of Roy City and all the schools. But Roy City's going to do well, and we're going to win this week, and we're going to come back next Wednesday and talk about it again. So.
Yep. Yeah, we are.
I like your confidence.
Hey, go Bulldogs!
Yeah.
Go Bulldogs!
I think we have Coach. Well, I don't want to say it yet. We'll wait but we do have a very his winning record is very high. So we got a coach that is
Potential special guest.
potential special guest who is
Okay.
a high school football legend.
Okay.
All right. So anyhow, okay, Mr. Diggs, thank you so much. We're gonna take a break. When we come back, we're a few minutes overdue. Dallas Christian, they're gonna join us. We're gonna talk about them as they begin their playoff run. I saw running back Zach Hernandez walking around here. I see his dad. So we're gonna catch up with them and see what's going on. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Acre Property Team, for sponsoring this segment. Thank you, Angel Cleveland, for everything you do for us. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Shop The Rock at Rockwall Ford. Get rock bottom pricing on 500 new Fords, cars, trucks, SUVs. We got it all. Log online and get your rock bottom deals today. Visit us at I-30 exit 205.
Rockwall4.com.
1. All right, we're live. We're back here. Let me take off Professor Diggs' Twitter handle there. Let's look at that right there. Okay, we're back for our final segment of the night. We're joined by a couple of Dallas Christian players, Zach Hernandez and Philip Bazemore. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us tonight. How's it going?
Good.
Yeah, everything was good. I was looking forward to talking to you till Zach comes up here talking about Texas is going to destroy TCU this weekend. Are you a Texas fan? Yes, what? Because I did see you on the sidelines at TCU this past summer. I thought.
Yeah, I did go on the sideline for TCU.
All right, so
hey, Texas coming though. I'm going on sideline for Texas.
Yeah. It's total disrespect for the Horned Frogs. Being a 7-point underdog to Texas, who was almost back because they almost beat Alabama. Whatever. I mean,
we should have if we had our starting quarterback.
No, it was. So then, what happened against Oklahoma State? All right. So and then I think they lost another one. I don't know who it was, Tech maybe or
Tech.
So yeah. So listen, the Longhorns they're going to be back someday, just not this year. Although I will say,
Saturday's the day.
This is a tough one for TCU. I'm not sure that they're gonna pull it out. They have a really tough schedule this year, but I'm always pulling for the little guy. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay. Gentlemen, let's talk about it. This team is a defending state champion, and they bring back their quarterback who was a freshman at the time. Now he's a sophomore with Luke Carney, and still doing big things for this school. You're 9-1. You finished 4-0 in district, and now you're going to start the playoff year. Colleyville Covenant. You guys, though, a little bit of a transition, right? You come over from Rockwall, and this is your first year at Dallas Christian. Philip, I'll start with you and just ask you, your experience playing at Dallas Christian, and how fast you grew to like everything over there at DC.
Dallas Christian football is like amazing. Like they take everything serious. There's no room to like rest. Like, you do what you have to do. Like, when I first got to Dallas Christian, like, it was just easy for me to, like, just become one of them. Like, I easily made a connection with the team, like, right there and then. Like, we just had already, like, a good, like, mindset together.
Is that the coaches? Is that through Coach Wheeler and them, and those coaches over there just kind of setting that tone? Obviously Coach Wheeler's got a ton of wins. He's been around the game a long time. But is that due to the coaching staff and just kind of what they brought to you from day one?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this team. Okay, so you've had this year, the 9-1. You've the gauntlet, the schedule you guys played was incredible, right? It seemed like every single week it was you're playing the number 1 ranked team in D2 or the number 3 team or the number 1 team. You were always playing, felt like a top 5 team, right? And you go through that schedule. Just how is that? The grind of that prepared you for the postseason.
The grind was hard. Like, lots of practicing, lots of hours, lots of film we put in. Like, normally I'm used to like an hour and a half practices, but at Dallas Christian we do 3-4 hour practices, which is really different for me. And you put more time into plays, into working more skills and all that. It just makes the team stronger.
Yeah, we're talking with Philip Bazemore, who plays a defensive end, defensive line, on the defensive side of the ball, and of course Zach Hernandez, who's a running back over there. And I've seen you play on the other side of the ball too. When you've had been asked to, because that's kind of the deal over at Dallas Christian is if they need some help on the other side of the ball, those are things that are just going to happen. Zach, I want to ask you about this team and how much confidence you guys have heading into your first postseason game, which is going to be senior night, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's going to be senior night because that got canceled due to weather or something like that, right?
No, they forfeited.
They forfeited.
Yes,
that's right. Just talk about this team, and how you feel you guys are gelling together heading into the postseason.
Like Philip was saying, just straight from the transition from Rockwall, everyone just bonds together. I mean, it's like a family over there. Like I said in the previous show, there's only so many people there, so you're friends with everyone. And, you're more than friends. It's like family over there. And the bond is getting stronger. I mean, everyone's getting more confident as we're rolling into playoffs. Practices are getting more intense. Yeah, they're getting more intense. Everyone's more locked in. It's do or die now, so everyone's getting confident now.
Just you guys as seniors, how special has it been, this year to be part of, what's going on over at Dallas Christian? How special has your senior year been?
It's pretty special knowing like it's your last year playing high school football. So just practicing, just taking everything serious. I mean, I always take it serious, but I feel like I was taking it for granted in the years past because, sophomore year at Rockwall in the playoffs, I'm only sophomore. Then junior year came around, I'm only a junior. Now it's senior year, and it's like, wow, that was fast. Like, coaches always tell you it's going to be quick, but you never know when you're in that situation. Like, for Luke right now, he's a freshman year at one state.
Yeah.
It's almost the end of his sophomore year, so.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Because you mentioned him, Philip, I'll switch and ask you, just the Luke Carney, who is he? Who's his, what's his mindset? What makes him successful in your mind?
Luke, what makes successful for me to Luke is that Luke knows how to become serious when it's like time to get down.
He's got a switch. He's got another level.
Mm-hmm. And like he knows how to make when people are like down during the game, he knows how to bring people up. He knows how to like bring our confidence back up. Like he's a true team leader, and like Luke is just a very special quarterback.
I want to add more to that too. Like Luke, for me, has just been a mentor the whole time. Even though he's younger and he might look up to me, I look up to that kid a lot. Just practicing with him, he tells if coaches, how they have a sheet for the plays you go through during like a script, he fixes those plays. Like Coach Wheeler will write it down wrong. He's like, oh, it should be 19 instead of 18, or something. Like he just knows the whole playbook inside out. And in the classroom, I'm not in the class with him, but I'm walking by and I see him every time. He's just locked in. He's just a true leader.
Yeah, that's special. Especially for a kid that's only a sophomore. Obviously, with some experience and winning a state title. Last year. We won't look ahead and get ahead of games and things like that. So let's focus on this week. How's the preparation been this week? And where's the team as far as ready to go for this Friday?
The team is getting stronger. I feel like I said earlier. I mean, the practices are only getting more intense. They're only getting more physical. Not in a way to hurt your teammates or anything, but we're much more faster now. We're pursuing the football. We know our coverages. We know everything. We know our offensive schemes, our assignments, and all that. So it's just getting faster and faster. Well, the game slows down, but the practice is getting faster.
Yeah, no, that's really, when the game's slowing down and things like that, that means you guys are seeing something. Philip, your defense. Let's talk about the defense and some of the playmakers you have on the defense. What's exciting. What if you have not seen Dallas Christian play defense, what should they be excited about if they were going to come watch you guys?
They should be excited about the D-line. The D-line is the leader of the defense. They are the ones that set the tone.
Yep.
They are the ones that just take the lead in everything. Then we got our linebackers. Our linebackers are probably one of the best edge rushers that we have.
Who's that? Who's on your linebacking side?
Frankie and Ivy.
Yeah, we have
different
games.
Right.
Different games they have different players in. So actually, I'm starting this week, and the last game we played, I was starting in that game. So I mean, they change up the lineup every week according to players' assignments, who they feel would best match up against certain players.
What's been the biggest difference? I'd like to know. Zach, I'll ask you, between playing public and private. Is there any difference, or is it just football? It's just, hey, business as usual.
I mean, football's football, but the difference to me, and I mean, I'm sure Philip can attest to this. I mean, you play both sides of the ball. At Rockwall, it's play offense, watch your defense go out there, make a stop, and then you go back out there. Over here, it's if they need you on defense, you're going to go out there and make a play for your team, and Philip's out there blocking for me, or, we have D linemen playing offense. So, like, the difference between private and public school is just playing both sides of the ball.
Yeah. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Dallas Christian, you guys, you're defending state champions. You're going to start a playoff run. This is a big year for you guys, especially as seniors, and I'm sure there's other seniors, on this team as well. But let's ask you, Zach, really quick about the offensive side of the ball. I know what you can do, and people around here know, who you are as a running back. But besides that, other pieces are on this offense. Who are some guys that people would be excited about when they go out there?
When you talk about Dallas Christian, you got to talk about Luke Harney. You got to talk about William Nettles, Zane.
Who seems to be good on defensive back too, right?
He's amazing. Our O-line, we just got our player back, Greg. He's great at pulling. I mean, when we call buck sweep or something, he's out there clearing linebackers, DNs, whatever's in his way. Cole Burke, Porter Nix. I mean, I can name the whole offense, actually.
Right.
I think every single one of them is a great player.
Yeah, no, you guys have been doing your thing all year, and now you'll put it all to test, right? You start your playoff run, and then hopefully it's a deep one, and hopefully at the end of the year you guys are playing in the last game and win that last game of the year. So, wish you all the best. Obviously we covered you guys for a couple years here, so it's we know you a little bit. It's been cool to see the transition that you guys have made, and then still having that success. And now you're on a team that has the opportunity, the potential to go really far and maybe win a state championship, and that all starts Friday night. So 7:00 at home.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
7:00 at home. It's senior night. Hey, listen. I know there's plenty of Dallas Christian fans out there. There's tons of Dallas Christian families that live here in this Rockwall Heath area. Get out there and support. I know the Chargers and Coach Wheeler and Zach and Philip. I know they'd appreciate you guys going out there. All right, guys. I want to say congratulations to Zach. Because this is the first time where he was like, I'm gonna talk. Like, he, without asking questions, he jumped in. He expanded off of what my man Philip said over here, and that is not like Zach, because typically he's gonna just be quiet till I ask him a question. So congratulations, Zach, on that. I think you're dead wrong on Texas TCU. And I'm surely going to reach out to you and let you know during the game. I'm going to be tweeting out, and you're going to be tagged all over it. So, but anyhow, it's good to see you guys. Good luck to you in the playoffs. Wish you all the best, and we'll check in. I will. Let's see. So this week I'm at Royce City. I'm going to have you guys on the schedule for the playoffs, and then the deeper you get, you'll see me for those games as well. But I'll make sure that I'm at one of these first 2 or 3. So good luck to you guys, and we'll see you down the road. That's going to do it for us. We appreciate all our guests. We appreciate Matt Diggs coming on and talking some football with us. We appreciate Dallas Christian coming in, and we wish them all the best, Zach Hernandez and Philip Bazemore. James Wingfield, Kevin Wingfield couldn't be with us tonight, but James Branch, we appreciate him. Alyssa Williams, thank you for coming in and talking a little Heritage Christian Academy football. It's pretty amazing when you think about it. You have the 3 schools with Heath, Rockwall, Royce City, Dallas Christian, and Heritage Christian Academy. All 5 schools make the playoffs, and that just kind of speaks to – and not only that, you guys are powerhouse, really good. Heritage Christian is like more than half of their games ended at halftime because they have a 46-point rule. So if you're winning by 46 points, they stop the game. Half their games didn't even make it to the third quarter. They've only lost 1. They're really good. And then, of course, we know what's going on with the public schools. So football is alive and well around here, and these are two of the studs that are leading the way around here. So again, thank you guys for showing. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Mr. Tucker, thank you, John, for sponsoring this segment. Tucker Roofing Systems, thank you for everything you guys do for us. That's going to do it. We will see you. We will have our pregame show starting at 5:30 Friday. That's the next time we'll see you. Good luck to all the teams out there. Good luck to you guys, and we will see you on game day. Have a good night. Dak Prescott's better than Tony Romo. That's how I end every segment. Good night.